Years ago, I read the autobiography of John Gerard, who was a Catholic priest in England at the time when the Catholic Church was being persecuted. One day, soldiers broke into the house, so he went and hid in a specially prepared hiding hole. He stayed in there, trying to be as quiet as possible for weeks, and he saw this as a God-given opportunity to make a personal retreat, so that's exactly what he did. It seems to me that in a way we're in a similar position, many of us anyway. God our Father is calling us to use the opportunity provided by our current confinement to encounter him at a new, deeper level. That's a definite positive, if ever there was one. And I found that some good things have been happening in my relationship with God over these last few days, and I thought that I'd report back about what has been happening. I find that often, whenever I feel a desire to pray, I feel a simultaneous desire not to. It's as if there is somebody in my head saying, give it a rest, or have a cup of tea and do it later, or do something useful to help people instead, or, this is a particularly nasty one, God doesn't exist, face it. I now know that this is a sign that the evil one is trying to trip me up, because he knows that if I do pray, it's going to be a wonderful moment. Whether I feel great or not in the doing of it, it's nevertheless going to be a wonderful moment. So I just walk round all these pathetic little objections and place myself before God my Father. Often when that happens, I feel a little disoriented. Like many of us, I've been trying to get used to some of these video conferencing tools on the internet. Yesterday, I tried chatting to my brother and his family in Canada with Zoom. I could see them, but I couldn't talk to them. The act of trying to communicate was pretty stressful. But then I thought, in fact, it's okay. We've demonstrated to each other that we care and that we want to spend time with each other. Prayer is similar. The very act of engaging in it is a proof of our desire to be with God. Then something really good has been happening in recent days. I've become aware that I can leave all my concerns with God. You'd have thought that after 25 years as a priest, I'd have known this already. But in my experience, this is what happens in prayer. That which is a basic truth of our faith becomes for us a new discovery. And I have felt younger. That's been an interesting development. And I think that this is the reason. When we are children or adolescents, we can just get on and enjoy life, at least if we're in a good, loving family. It's the grown-ups who do all the coping. Adulthood involves taking on the strain of looking after other people. But now that I can't do a great deal, I find that I'm handing stuff over to God, more and more. And I've suddenly realised I should have been doing this all the time anyway. Then something else has happened. I felt God the Father's pleasure in my returning to him in prayer as his son. Jesus in the Gospel today speaks of us receiving life precisely through our entering into the presence of the Father, whom he, Jesus, reveals to us. Well, it's hard to put this into words precisely, but I have experienced a top-up of life, which has made these boring days also blessed days. And one last thing. I've been granted a new conviction that through interceding for my brothers and sisters who are poorly or dying, I have done the best thing possible in their regard. I am inactive, but not useless. Because I have been speaking to my Father, each day has been shot through with purposefulness.